Hello, junkies. We are now halfway through the audiobook recording of GFL Book 6, The Gangster. I am recording this episode on a Thursday, so it's possible that by the time you hear this, when I release it on Sunday, GFL Book 6, The Gangster, will be recorded. Now, it still has to be edited, which is a painstaking process. All the aliens get their own vocal filter per species. That kind of stuff is a ton of work, but Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg is on top of it. We don't have a print release date for GFL Book 6, The Gangster yet, but that is coming soon. We do the final author tweaks on the manuscript when I'm reading it out loud. So as soon as I'm done recording, that manuscript goes off to the diva of design, Donna Mugavero, and once the layout begins, we will likely have a release date for you. We also have a release date for the audiobook for Mount Fitzroy coming up very soon. Still waiting on some info from the publisher for that, so we can't quite announce it. But you're going to have it real soon. Only 2 episodes left of the Nocturnal Throwback after the episode you're going to listen to right now. Don't forget, the Q&A episode for Nocturnal Throwback is coming up on November 15th, 2020. The deadline to get your questions or comments in is November 8th, 2020. Email questions to info@emptyset.com. Now it's time to jump into the Wayback Machine. Next thing you will hear is the talkie talk from back in 2008. It seems like a lifetime ago. And if you died before hearing this, it was a lifetime ago. Then you'll hear episode number 30 of the Nocturnal Throwback. Armor up, gun up, and enjoy. Welcome to the free podcast novel, Nocturnal. This is episode number 38. Nocturnal is a podcast-only novel you can't buy in stores and you can't peek at the end. Written and performed by Scott Sigler. More information and more free stories available at scottsigler.com. This book contains adult language, mature situations, and lots of violence. Hello, my junkies, and welcome to Nocturnal, episode number 38. This is not the last episode, but I will go ahead and tell you that episode 39 is the last episode, then episode 40 will be an epilogue. Now, if you're one of the new listeners that has come to scottsigler.com because of the Contagious podcast novel, again, this is episode number 38 of Nocturnal. You're going to want to go ahead and go all the way back to episode number 1. If you subscribe to the iTunes feed here, you'll be able to see all the Nocturnal episodes in the iTunes feed, or you can go to podiobooks.com, PODIOBOOKS.com, search for Nocturnal or search for Scott Sigler. You'll see all my books there. You can sign up and listen to the story without hearing me jibber jab. Of course, people often do love to listen to me jibber jab because my voice is just that kick-ass. And speaking of Contagious, the hardcover novel that will be available on December 30th. I just posted episode number 1 of the Contagious podcast up at scottsigler.com. So if you're just hearing this now, check your feed or swing over to scottsigler.com. Look for episode number 1 of Contagious. We will be podcasting the first 4 episodes of Contagious before the book comes out. The 4th episode will post December 28th. Of course, the book is out December 30th. Then we will continue to release Contagious as a podcast novel. But I suspect you're going to get the shakes. You're going to get all twitchy. Your skin's going to start crawling. Your spine's going to start tingling. And you're going to have to run to the store and you're going to have to buy that some bitch all for yourself. And you know what? I can't blame you. Stick around after the episode. I will have a few junkie calls. I will have my new video game review segment sponsored by Gamefly.com. And just a nasty, spooky horror video game I'll be talking about then. And news on the Sigler Stank Contagious book tour, particularly news about a special event that's going to be going on at the Washington, D.C. stop. But there's a lot to catch up on, so let's get into the story so far by an old-time friend of mine and one of the granddaddies of the podcasting world. That's right, Drew Domkus of the Dawn and Drew podcast. Dawn and Drew and all their crazy Dawn and Drew friends are going to be joining us January 19th at the Chicago tour stop for Contagious, 7 o'clock at the bookstall in Winnetka, Illinois. So that, of course, is guaranteed to be a party. Come out and meet me, come out and meet Drew. But for now, here's the story so far with Drew Domkus.
Hey, fellow junkies, it's Drew Domkus from the Dawn and Drew Show. Dawn and I are really looking forward to meeting some of you when the Sigler Stank Tour cruises through Chicago, but today I'd like to present you with the story so far. In the dead black of night, the SS Jeremiah O'Brien is steaming across the fog-choked San Francisco Bay, out towards the Golden Gate Bridge. The old World War II transport ship is the setting of a final showdown between the Russians, the Italians, the San Francisco police, and the Nocturnals. Bryan Clauser is trying to distract the Nocturnals as his partner, Pookie Chang, goes below decks to search for the twin daughters of Police Chief Amy Zou. His ruse works, but at a terrible price. Hands burned, face cut, his right elbow shattered by a .44 caliber bullet, and his right ankle ravaged by a vicious bite, Bryan fights to stay alive. He doesn't have long. The snake-faced monster Sly just leapt from the top of the ship down to the deck to finish Bryan off. Sly was ordered down by Rex Depravdichuk, the king, the teenage leader of the Nocturnals. Rex remains on top of the ship with another of his monsters, Devil Dan, who was shot up by Bryan. Meanwhile, down in hold number 5, Pookie located Zou's daughters, who were guarded by the dog-faced monster Pierre. Pierre thinks that Pookie is the savior, and as such, dropped his automatic shotgun. At the end of the episode, Pookie had Pierre at gunpoint. Simultaneously, Russian gangster Dmitri Vasilov is at the rear of the ship, tucked beneath the rear cannon gun deck, waiting for Nick Murray, an ex-Soviet SEAL who was climbing up the side of the ship to hand Dmitri a bag full of weapons. Little does Dmitri know that Frank Lanza and his mafia lieutenants are up on that gun deck, patiently waiting for the arrival of a helicopter loaded with 2 ex-Special Forces gunmen. Firstborn and Tricky Dick are in a yacht off of the O'Brien starboard side, waiting for Rex and Sly to jump aboard before a bomb detonates the engine room. But Rex and Sly are late, and Firstborn wonders if they'll make it off in time. And now, episode number 38 of Nocturnal.
Shirley Bruce saw an explosion blossom on the Jeremiah O'Brien's port side, on the superstructure, down by the lifeboat deck. The cloud swelled as it slowly rose, almost lazy, like a poorly inflated helium balloon. She was coming in too low to see anyone on the rear deck, as that same superstructure blocked her view. The foredeck, however, looked empty. The only thing she could make out was a man up on the very top of the boat, and another man, jumping off the top, vanishing over the edge towards the rear deck. What were the odds of seeing someone commit suicide at this very moment? "Explosion!" Shirley said. "We better leave some room between us and the ship." "Go in like I told you," Pete Goldblum said. "Right in close." Shirley sighed. "You got it." Seemingly oblivious to the fact that he wore a microphone built into his headphones, Pete shouted towards the back, at the 2 gunmen waiting for action. "You boys be ready, we're going in." His voice sounded deafening in Shirley's phones. "Don't fire until I tell you, but anyone I don't recognize is a target, you got it?" "We got it," one of the men said, quietly and with more than a little annoyance. "You just point, we'll shoot." "Here we go," Shirley said. She dropped the Huey even lower, making sure the superstructure blocked any view from the back of the boat. She angled the Huey to fly down the O'Brien's port side, admiring the still rising cloud of fire caused by the strange explosion. Only a few seconds now, and the 2 shooters in the back would have an open field of fire on the O'Brien's rear deck. Firstborn sat on the stolen yacht's port rail, watching the strange, rising, burning fireball start to dissipate into the thick fog some 100 feet above the Jeremiah O'Brien. The color of the fireball looked like the bright white flames the dragon breath kicked out, but it had been much bigger than anything the boy had ever produced. The fireball had risen up from the O'Brien's far side, so Firstborn couldn't see the cause. He checked his watch. Still 90 seconds to go before the bomb went off, which meant the fireball was something else. He also heard the tiny cracks of small arms fire, but that was to be expected. The Russians and the Italians had to go, as did the police chief and the ship's crew. It was almost a shame this had to go down tonight. In all his years, he'd never thought to take a boat out into the fog at night. Here, he could be up on the deck, right out in the open. No tunnels, no dirt. Smelled kind of nasty out here, but he could handle that. It shocked him to realize it, but in the open air, he finally and fully believed. This was what the king had promised. Snippets of open-air freedom. A life above ground instead of a life beneath it. If, that was, the king got off the boat in time. Firstborn felt genuine anxiety, even fear for the safety of his king. Rex and Sly should have been on the yacht 3 minutes ago. They were cutting it dangerously close. Dragon Breath, Lockjaw, and Devil Dan should have had their fun and been done with it already. So what was wrong? And did Firstborn need to do something? The king had told him quite clearly to wait on the yacht, but still. He scanned the ship, looking for movement. The yacht was 30 or so feet below the O'Brien's portside rail. Firstborn couldn't see anything up on the big ship's deck. But there, near the back of the ship, a black shape. Barely visible against the gray hull. Something moving? Firstborn leaned on the yacht's rail, staring, trying to make the image reconcile in his brain. Something from that black shape reached up. An arm. It was a man. A man crawling up the backside of the ship.
Dick!
Firstborn yelled up to the pilot's deck. Yeah?
Bring us in closer, now!
That's not a good idea, see? Dick called back. I've never used that much C4 before. I don't know how big the explosion will be.
There's someone crawling up the back of the ship. Someone is making a move on our king. Take us closer, now!
Firstborn felt the yacht turn slightly left, angling towards the Jeremiah O'Brien. A part of Brian's brain reveled in the beauty of it all. Dragon Breath's gaseous remains kept rising slowly into the night sky, roiling like a tiny nuke cloud, lighting up the fog around it even as it dimmed and dissipated. The cloud had made a silhouette of Sly, backlighting the big creature in the three-piece suit as he gracefully arced down to the deck. Brian had expected to feel a thump, hear the heels of expensive Italian shoes clattering on the chip-gray concrete when Sly landed, but neither thing happened. From 30 feet up, the creature had hit as light as a bird, landed in a bent-legged crouch, then slowly stood. Brian knew that was for dramatic effect. And it worked. "Come to get some, bitch!" Brian said. It sounded infantile and retarded, but he just hurt too damn bad to bust out snappy one-liners. Sly smiled. That pointy snake face, the grin of a dragon, a mouth full of incisors. "Get some? No, I came to get all of it." Brian had no guns, one knife, and a right arm about as useless as tits on a bull. He had to goad Sly in close. "So come and take it, pussy!" "No, I just got this suit," Sly said, as he reached his right hand into his jacket. "You ruined the last one, if you'll remember." The hand came out, and Brian's soul dropped just a touch. Another goddamn .44 automag. Sly patted the barrel against his open left palm. Brian froze in place. Sly was 15 feet away, fast as fuck and armed. Brian waited, which was just as well. The longer Sly played with him, the more time Pookie had, and every second counted. Sly kept patting the barrel against his hand, almost daring Brian to make a move. The big snake-faced man started to laugh. While those below decks couldn't see Dragon Breath's fireball, the sound of the small explosion still echoed through hold number 5, briefly drowning out the steady drip of condensation. Zou pulled her sister Tabs to her feet and yanked her towards Pookie, away from the monster. Stopped for a second, then turned to face her captor. "My mom is gonna kill you," said. Then she turned and kept dragging a stumbling Tabs, who seemed barely aware of what was going on around her. Pookie watched the girls in his peripheral vision because he wasn't taking his eyes off the dog-faced creature. Dragged Tabs, and just as they reached Pookie, Tabs fell to the ground. Eyes stared out, like white glass dotted with blue. "Tabby, move!" Mur said. "Girls, move! There's a bomb! Get up to the deck, now!" The word bomb seemed to confuse the dog-faced monster. It lifted a hand, and Pookie almost fired before he realized the creature wore a big Rolex. The dangling tongue flicked up into the mouth, and it spoke.
Uh-oh,
the monster said.
I forgot about that.
It looked up at Pookie again, and its eyes narrowed. The fear started to fade away.
Your hands are shaking, Ringo.
Pookie's eyes briefly flicked to the barrel of his own automatic shotgun. The end jittered and shook, dancing a burnished metal dance in midair. Not a lot, but enough.
Hey,
the dog-face said.
Where's your bow?
For once in his life, Pookie Chang didn't have a smart-ass answer. The gig was up.
Is that a shotgun?
The creature asked.
It looks fancy. I have a shotgun too.
The dog-face's long nose flicked down towards the ground, an inadvertent move, because he wanted to know where his own AA-12 automatic shotgun sat on the wet, rusty floor. Mur, run! The dog-face squatted and grabbed for his weapon. Pookie stepped forward and to the right, putting himself between the creature and the girls. Just 10 feet from the monster, he pulled the trigger. His USAS-12 semi-automatic shotgun roared off the metal hold's walls, but he didn't hear the echo for long because he pulled the trigger again and again. The first shot caught the dog-face in the right shoulder, spinning him back a half turn, but he kept squatting, kept reaching. The second shot missed altogether as far as Pookie could tell. The next 3 shots hit dead on, but through Pookie's fear-driven point-and-shoot response, a part of him realized he'd put those 3 shots dead on the creature's thick, bulletproof vest. One of the girls started screaming. The shots knocked the dog-face back a little. He looked like a mime, leaning against a mild wind, but his big, furred right hand found his own sawed-off shotgun, an AA-12. The creature raised the sawed-off AA-12 with one hand, like it was a pistol and not a semi-auto shotgun, and pointed it right at Pookie. Pookie's next round hit pay dirt, catching the right side of the dog-face's jaw. Furred skin flew like red pond water splashing away from a fist-sized rock. The blast spun the creature all the way around. Pookie felt a light-speed flicker of hope that he'd killed the thing before he realized the spin was calculated. The creature, moving with the momentum of the blast, coming all the way around in a bizarrely graceful pirouette that ended with the AA-12 pointed right at Pookie's chest. The creature's sawed-off weapon fired, capping off rounds like a machine gun. Pookie didn't know how many, because he was stumbling back as if Brock Lesnar was blistering him with big body blows. Pookie felt a pain in his left hand, then his face, his foot. His shotgun dropped away. He landed on his right side, not even realizing he'd fallen until the wet metal floor hit him hard enough to steal his breath. Once, at a New Year's Eve party many, many years ago, Pookie Chang had been hit with an aluminum baseball bat. That's what this felt like, only it was 6 or 7 bats, and the bats were probably made of solid iron and not aluminum. Most of his body simply wouldn't respond. He didn't know where he was bleeding, and it hurt to breathe. His body involuntarily curled into a half-fetal position.
You're not a daisy,
the monster said.
You're not a daisy at all.
Whichever girl had started screaming, she was still doing it. Tabs! Mur shouted. Shut your fucking mouth! Oh, well, it seemed that Tabs was the one doing the screaming. Apparently, taking a shotgun blast to the face wasn't that major of a deal for this thing. Big footsteps walked towards Pookie, splashing on the floor's thin puddles.
This is good,
the creature said.
Chinese is my favorite.
Movement from behind. Pookie could barely turn his head enough to see a pair of feet in the doorway to hold number 4. The dog-face suddenly flinched away, moving fast, just as a silencer hissed out 6 shots. Pop, 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 pop. Mommy! Mur screamed. Tabitha, get your ass up and move! Chief Amy Zou. Pookie begged his battered body to move. Come on, Chang! Zou screamed. You've got to— Her words were cut off by the roar of Dogface's shotgun and the splattery clang of shot bouncing off of steel. Zou ducked back, out of sight behind the door as another shotgun blast crashed against the wall. She appeared again, lower this time, crouched, just her arm peeking past the bottom edge of the door. Girls screaming, girls running, 7 more silenced hisses, the dog face roaring in pain. Pookie crawled to the door, over the door's lip, and into hole number 4. "Come on, Chang," Chief Zou said as she popped home a fresh magazine. "Get my girls out of here, now!" Pookie struggled to his hands and knees as Chief Zou stood and leaned out again, firing off 2 shots before ducking back just as another shotgun roar peeled off the blistered paint. A last reserve of adrenaline coursed through his veins. The pain wasn't forgotten, but somehow he could move again. At least Tabs was no longer catatonic. Her mother's presence seemed to have snapped her out of it. Tabs and Mur cowered behind their mother. Pookie reached into his cloak, pulled out the ceramic knife, and dropped it on the floor at Amy's feet. "It's saviors," he said, knowing the chief would understand the significance. "There's a bomb! We gotta get out now!" He grabbed a 10-year-old girl under each arm like so many screaming, crying pillows, then ran through hold number 4 towards the engine room. Dmitri Vasilov knew he was a blessed man. There couldn't be better cover anywhere on the ship than this shadowy spot. The O'Brien's large rear gun deck extended above him, 5 feet of thick concrete. From up there, the only way to get to Dmitri's position was to rappel down on ropes. The rear rail was behind him, and beyond that, nothing but water and the fading lights of San Francisco. His position boiled down to a 3-foot-wide, half-circle walkway, ocean on one side, the thick concrete pillar that supported the rear cannon on the other. At the port and starboard rails, the half-circle opened up onto the rear deck. Viacek guarded the port side, Arseny the starboard. Dmitri looked out over the rail. Nick Murray was crawling up the side of the ship like Spider-Man, a rope trailing behind him. "Privyet, my duke," Dmitri said, as Nick's smiling face peeked over the rail. "You bring me presents." Nick handed over the rope. "Yes," he said. "Party favors for you." Dmitri passed the end of the rope to Sviatoslav, and together they started pulling fast. It was easy at first, but when the bag lifted free of the water, they both felt the weight. "Come aboard, Nikolai," Dmitri said. "There is much work to do." "The name is Nick," the wet-suited man said. "I do not know this Nikolai fellow, and I was paid to bring you the bag, nothing more." Dmitri kept pulling, but turned his head to stare at the man hanging from the other side of the rear starboard rail. "I will tell you what you are paid to do. Come aboard, I said. I have need of your skills." Nick smiled and shook his head. "That I cannot do, my friend. What if something were to happen to me? Why, my poor TiVo would keep recording Battlestar Galactica. It would swell up and burst like the udder of a milking cow." "I am not going to tell you a third time," Dmitri said. Nick nodded. "This is good. Then I won't have to say no a third time." With that, Nick Murray simply let go of the rail. Dmitri watched him drop like a shiny black rock, vanishing into the churning water below. He didn't have time to see if Nick survived, because at that moment, the heavy bag bumped up against the rail. He and Sviatoslav quietly pulled it over, unzipped the waterproof seal, and looked inside. "Storkrasivy," Dmitri said. "So beautiful." 5 9A91 assault rifles. They fired 9x39mm subsonic rounds at a rate of 900 rounds a minute on full auto. Dmitri didn't like to use full auto. Considering the magazines held only 20 rounds, you'd unload the whole thing in a second and a half. The weapon's small size made them ideal for maneuvering down tight corridors. Short barrels made for crappy long-range effect, but in this fog, at night, and possibly fighting in the narrow confines of the ship hallways, Dmitri wasn't going to complain about range. Nick had delivered the perfect weapon for the situation. Dmitri handed 2 of the 9A91s to Sviatoslav, along with 6 magazines, and told him to deliver them to Viacek on the port side. As the man scampered off, Dmitri loaded his 9A91 and threw an ammo belt over his right shoulder. The belt held 4 full magazines, giving him a total of 100 rounds of killing power. More than enough for this job. With the guns out of the bag, he saw more goodies. 5 shrapnel grenades. Nice. And the cause for most of the weight, a compact self-inflating life raft. Ah, that Nikolai. Always thinking of everything. Now how could Dmitri be mad at Nikolai for not wanting to fight? Dmitri quickly shoved 3 of the grenades into his pockets, then hung the bag from a nearby rope, lifeboat still inside. That done, he half-crouched and started running along the curve to where it opened up on the starboard rail. Dmitri heard the roar of a handgun. He knew that sound. The Dirty Harry gun, a .44 automag. Arseny was there, crouched in the shadows, mouth agape, as he stared out into the open rear deck. Dmitri ran to him and then suffered a brief assault on his senses. His eyes showed him a strange sight. A snake-faced man in a 3-piece suit aiming a .44 automag at the man in black with a skull-face mask, who was hobbling more or less right towards Dmitri's position. That was with Dmitri's eyes. His ears heard the rotor blades of a helicopter coming in fast off the port side. The snake-faced man tracked the man in black. Snakeface was toying with him. The gun fired again, hitting the skull-masked man, who let out a cry of pain, stumbled more, but did not fall. Dmitri's combat instincts told him that all hell was about to break loose. He prayed Vyachik and Sverdislav had enough common sense to just stay down and not fire on the helicopter. At the very top of the Jeremiah O'Brien superstructure, Rex Dubrovnichuk reached down and gently scooped up Devil Dan. The bloody, hairy man felt surprisingly light. No, that wasn't right. It was Rex, who was surprisingly strong. He watched the big helicopter coming in low along the ship's left side. Rex hopped into one of the concrete-walled machine gun nests and ducked down. "I'm sorry," Dan said, blood bubbles forming on his dark lips and popping across his nose. "I failed you, my king." Rex smiled at Dan. How many times had that skull-faced man shot Dan in the ribs? Dan's left side was a sheet of bloody clothing, and there was no way to tell how many bullets had hit home without taking a close look, and they simply didn't have the time. "No, you didn't fail," Rex said. "You fought well. We'll get you back home, and you'll get better." Things hadn't gone right. They just hadn't. Rex checked his watch. Only 30 seconds now. He watched the helicopter coming in low, headed for the rear of the ship. As soon as it passed by, Rex would try and jump up to the front. Could he survive a 30-foot jump like Sly could? Like Pierre could? Rex had to try. What other choice was there? Wait for the bomb to go off? He'd watch from the front of the ship. Hopefully, Sly could take care of that demon with the skull smile mask. Rex and Sly would then both jump to the yacht, and all of this would finally be over. Rex stayed low and watched the helicopter roar in just above the surface of the water. He checked his watch again. 45 seconds. Bryan Clauser moved as best he could, but he was effectively hopping on his left leg, the right barely holding enough weight to keep his balance. Regardless, he wasn't moving fast, certainly not fast enough to avoid the .44 caliber bullets that hit him in the left shoulder blade, the small of his back, his left ass cheek. His peacoat blocked the killing impact of even that last shot, although it did nothing to stop the pile driver needle pinpoint of kinetic energy. If Bryan made it out of this alive, he'd have Adam make him some pants out of the same material. Bryan dodged the last 2 bullets, not because he was graceful in any way, but because he fell flat on his face and skidded along the concrete, the cuts on his forehead and cheek leaving a long streak of blood to mark his path. It was hard to get up quick when he could only move one arm. The sound of a helicopter cut through Bryan's thoughts. He'd heard it coming, but hadn't really registered it, his fight for life blocking out all extraneous input. But the thing was so loud now, it seemed to cut through everything like a giant, roaring buzzsaw. It had to be coming in from the front of the ship, blocked from view by the superstructure rising out of the ship's center deck. Bryan rolled onto his left shoulder and looked back. Sly was coming. dropping an empty magazine out of the 44 and sliding home a fresh one, the huge lights of the Golden Gate Bridge blazing off the Automag's chrome. So close. Sly's big steps covering the distance, so fast. Bryan had no guns. Bryan had no spring knife. Bryan couldn't outrun him. There was no place to hide. Only one chance, really. He reached his left hand into the slot of his right sleeve and gripped the knife handle. He had to pray that Sly would get close enough. The helicopter grew so loud, Bryan wouldn't have heard anyone coming, but he didn't need to hear. He felt Sly getting closer. It was like radar. The warmth built in his chest, that sense of oneness, of belonging. And when it grew so bright, Bryan wondered if he was actually doing the right thing. He slid to his knees, pulled the knife, and turned. The blade lashed out, curving up towards where Bryan knew Sly's throat would be. The laser-honed edge whipped through the air, reached Sly, and sliced into nothing at all. Sly dipped backwards like a pro boxer, just far enough that the ceramic blade hissed through open air. Bryan's swing and momentum continued clumsily. Before he could recover, Sly whipped his 44 in a short arc. The top of the gun caught Bryan flush in the mouth, right on top of his painted-on skull smile. Bryan heard and felt his left upper incisor crack. His remaining strength sagged, and he slumped to the deck. Bryan weakly looked up at Sly, who smiled down with that toothy, all-incisor grin. Sly reached down and grabbed the ceramic knife. "The king said make you hurt," Sly said, then grabbed the back of Bryan's head and drove a fast knee into his lips. More teeth broke, the front ones this time. Bryan's mouth filled with blood. He tried to spit out pieces of enamel. He failed, the bits of teeth just sticking to the bloody globs on his split lips. "You're a tough son of a bitch, but you're no savior," Sly said, shouting to be heard over the approaching helicopter. He held up the knife in his left hand, his right still clutched on the 44. "I'm guessing this knife is all special and shit. Special for killing family, so we can't heal up. Well, guess what, Chachi? Live by the knife, die by the knife." The black Huey slid past the superstructure's edge, suddenly in full view, nose pointed up as it bled off speed to hover just 50 feet off the port side. Bryan and Sly both turned to look, automatically drawn by the strange motion of something so big flying so close. The lights burned so bright now, the shadows pointed back at just a slight angle. The ship was almost to the bridge now, close enough that the Huey seemed lit up bright as day. The helicopter's wide side door rolled open. Inside, two big men aiming two big machine guns down at the deck. The guns opened up simultaneously, turning the deck of the Jeremiah O'Brien into a hellish field of flying lead it hadn't seen since World War II. Dmitri was so excited he couldn't even stand it. The odds of making it off this ship alive had just gone down like a cheap Chinese whore, and yet the chance of death was what made life so sweet. The two gunners on the Huey were no amateurs, but the snake-faced man was faster than anything Dmitri had ever seen. The snake-face had turned and sprinted across the deck towards the starboard side, high-caliber bullets hitting all around him. Dmitri felt certain at least some of the bullets connected, but the snake-face kept moving until he reached the starboard rail, turned towards the prow, then vanished beneath the cover of the starboard side lifeboat deck. That left the poor fucker in the stupid mask. Dmitri watched both gunmen turn their barrels back towards the guy. And then dozens of sparks danced across the Huey's left side. No, 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 Dmitri thought. They can't be that stupid. But they were that stupid. Vyacek and Sverdislav had seen a shot and taken it. One of the gunmen fell limply out of the Huey, dropping down to the black water below. The Huey banked to its right as more sparks danced on its suddenly exposed belly. Whoever the pilot was, he was exceptional. The Huey moved sideways and backwards, keeping the same relative position to the steaming Jeremiah O'Brien. Then it leveled out, and the remaining gunman unloaded with high-caliber fury. Translucent orange cones stutter-sparked from his weapon, Probably a stoner 63 by the sound of it. Gyachik and Sverdislav were on the opposite side of the rear gun deck support column. Dmitri couldn't see them, but he saw there were no more bullets sparking against the Huey's hull. Both of his men were most certainly dead. Dmitri looked forward, out to the open rear deck. The man with the skull smile mask was gone. The helicopter had to belong to the Italians. But where the fuck was Lanza, and where the fuck were his boys? Dmitri crouched lower, his open palm waving towards the deck, signaling Arseny behind him to get down as well. Best to just stay down, stay quiet, stay calm, and wait for an opportunity to present itself. No! Mur screamed. I want to see Mommy kill him! Shut up! Pookie hissed as he carried the girls into the shaft room. He bonked Tabs' head against the side of the door, but didn't have time to see if there was any damage. He lurched his way into the engine room, the extra weight slowing him, and started up the 3 flights of stairs. On the way up, he looked through the 3 driving brass rods to the red clock beyond. 0:25, 0:24, 0:23. Chief! Pookie screamed so loud he felt his vocal cords ripping and tearing. 20 seconds! Even over the loud engine, Pookie could hear machine gun fire from up on the deck. It didn't matter, because up there might be at least a chance at survival. Legs screaming with exhaustion, Pookie held the girls tight as he drove up the steps 2 at a time. Any slip now, any fall, and all 3 of them would probably die. Amy Zou sprinted through hold number 4 as she fired blindly behind her. She'd hit him, and she knew it, but the goddamn thing just wouldn't go down. Her Browning 9mm clicked on empty. She was out. A shotgun roared twice somewhere back there, the first doing nothing but echo off the hold, the second accompanying a tugging sensation on her right shoulder. Was she hit bad? She was still moving, so it wasn't bad enough to stop her. A loud mental clock ticked away inside her head. Pookie had said 20 seconds, and that was 6 seconds ago. 14 and counting. She ran through the door into the shaft room and the engine room beyond, the empty Browning in one hand, the 10-inch knife in the other. 13. 12. Rex's suit was ruined, covered in Devil Dan's blood. But that didn't matter. These suits were silly anyway. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a movie. Dan might actually die. Dragon Breath was already dead. And Lockjaw? Rex didn't know. He couldn't see the man anywhere. The helicopter hovered at the side of the ship. No more time to wonder if he could or he couldn't. Rex had to move now. He looked out and up at the massive Golden Gate Bridge. So close now, it was almost too big to comprehend. He bent at the knees, then pushed. His body shot forward like a man fired out of a cannon. Wind whipped by his face and his stomach lifted, like riding a fast elevator. What a sensation. Rex actually laughed. Just once. That was all the time there was before he arced down and landed on the deck. He wasn't ready for the momentum. He stumbled as he hit, falling forward, Dan shooting out of his arms to slam against the base of a crane. Rex quickly scrambled to his feet and ran to the short man. Dan, sorry about that. Dan let out half a laugh that turned into a bloody cough. You'll get the hang of it. Rex scooped Devil Dan up once again, then ran to the prow cannon. Rex had no idea how big the blast would be, and he hoped he was far enough away. Chief Amy Zou's breath raged in and out as she ran up the last set of steep metal steps. She didn't see Pookie or the girls. They must have already reached the top and gotten out. Exhaustion and stress were finally winning out over rage and adrenaline. She had to go on, will her feet to keep moving. Thudding on the ladder behind her told her that Pierre was close. Amy tried to take the last 2 steps in one leap, and she failed. Her left toe caught the final edge. She fell hard. Hands reached out to stop the fall. The Browning skidded away, but she held tightly to the knife, even though that meant her knuckles smashed into concrete. So did her knee. Her whole left leg suddenly went numb. No, not now. Not when she was almost out. Footsteps behind her now, even louder, shaking the stairwell. She turned and looked back down. Pierre, coming up the ladder with crazy agility, aiming his sawed-off one-handed even as he took the steps 3 at a time. Amy Zou rolled to her right just as the gun went off, the pellets ripping into the metal wall where she had been. She fell to her ass, and she gripped the knife. Pierre was only a few more stair steps away. She felt it before she heard it. A harsh, body-sized puff of air smacking her in the face, like walking into a glass door. Then, right after, yet also at the same instant, an impossible roar. She saw Pierre flying out of the stairs, his big body picked up, lifted, and thrown. On the way out, his nose gonged against the inside top of the stairwell door. His feet flew through as he spun vertically, his legs flipping up as his head flipped down. When he hit the wall on the opposite side of the stairwell, he was upside down and facing back to the stairs. He hit hard. And that was all she saw in that split instant as a furnace blast wall of fire shot out of the engine room stairs, lifted Amy Zou right up off the ground, and smashed her against the hallway's metal ceiling. And that is episode number 38. Episode number 39 will be the finale. Episode 40 will be an epilogue where we tie up a few loose ends and, I don't know, maybe hint at some additional stories. Now, in the last episode of Nocturnal, I told you that I would start doing shout-outs to all the new junkies who sign up at scottsigler.com. Things got a little crazy this week. I think we added over 100. Now, when you sign up, make sure you put in a profile picture so I know who the hell you are. And that can be an avatar too. So if you're all paranoid about privacy, go ahead and put up an avatar. But more importantly, make sure you put in your postal code. You don't have to list your full address if you're afraid of me showing up and stealing your chickens. I understand this completely. I have stole chickens before. I'm not proud of it, but it was something that had to be done. So if you want to protect your chickens, don't put in your street address. Put in your zip code. Because when I start to tour and I do different events at bookstores in your area, it would be awesome to be able to email you and say, yo, I'm going to be in the area and I probably won't be stealing your chickens. So you can come out and see me and leave your household unguarded. And if you already created a profile, get your ass back in there and put in your friggin' zip code. Good God. You think I'm going to like rampage across the globe and kill everyone and let tanks roll and destroy entire civilization? Yeah, actually, I am going to do that. But put in your zip code anyways. How about a shout out to some of our new international listeners this week? Miha, I believe, my first listener from Slovenia, Rebus from Germany, Joss Soldier from Sweden, Not Junkie from Australia, as is Luminous Wombat, and GJ203, RKH100 from Canada, and Smiley Knee from New Zealand. Does America represent? Hell yes, America represents. To the tune of Armogi from Bend, Crawfish from Kansas, Texan Chick, Sister Trixie from Florida, Emmett Fan from Texas, Machiavelli from Alaska, TTK, WDM Music Fan, Dirty Girl, Ball Dragon, 89XJ Paul, and Knight, Atlantis 03, Alosis Iris, K Puchik, Jax Bear, Demad Jamaican, Alt, my new favorite name of the week, Drunken Punkin, B4RB, 3QU3, Pyre, Rich Quinn, Andre Shadle, Ilya, Tavron, Be Real 191, Be Real Yo, Chicken Scissors. Chicken Scissors is a junkie name. I'm not saying give Be Real the Chicken Scissors, although stranger things have happened. Nutating, Slawstritter, Catnove, J.C. Hutchins, V. Nally, Arthel68, D-Lo, Textboot, John the Junkie, Sweetie 303, Crack-a-Mike, Future Resistance, who is just a smartass and has already set up future resistance to my global rule. R. Morphe, Whiskey 2.0, Sam, George Demo 67, Motobreath, Atlantis 03, Gumby dammit, D. Rice, Shadowheart, Maxwell 1, Morg, Gananel, Agent Solak, Sci-Fi Ron, Echo 79, and Illustrious. If I missed your name, I'm very sorry about that. It's getting a little crazy over there at scottsigler.com. Now, if you're one of those people, or if you put up a new profile, make sure that you go back to scottsigler.com. You should have a private message waiting for you from General Siglarissimo himself. First, let me give you the tour news for Washington, D.C., then my video game review, then we'll finish up with some junkie calls. I appear to have played through all of the promos that people have sent me, so if you want your promo played on my podcast, go ahead and send it my way, and if you sent me a promo and I never played it, make sure you let me know, we'll get it on there. The news for Washington, D.C., who was the top vote getter in the Sigler Stank 2 Contagious Book Tour contest that we held, where you could come to the site and vote for your city to be on that tour. Washington, D.C. won that and had more votes than any other city. Therefore, what we are going to do is we're going to be bringing a videographer to Washington, D.C. We're going to get some video of General Siglarissimo rampaging through the nation's capital, destroying everything that he sees and remaking the government in his own image. Then, of course, we're going to get some video from the book tour, get all you junkies in the video. Then we're going to get some video out at the bar. We're going to edit that whole thing down, throw that bitch up on YouTube. So that is January 21st, 7:30 p.m., Falls Church, Virginia. The border's at Bailey's Crossroads. That's not Washington, D.C. proper, but it is the official Washington, D.C. stop. That is also the final stop on that big 11-city contagious book tour, which means the FDO might throw down a little bit because he doesn't have to get into a plane the next day and fly somewhere. So remember, video cameras will be rolling. Bring yourself, bring your fellow junkies, bring your friends. Clothing, completely optional. Don't feel obligated by the constraint society places on us with clothing. Now, of course, I will leave that up to your better judgment. Those of us who should not be naked in front of other people, let's keep that in mind, shall we? At any rate, because I'm bringing the videographer, because we're going to have a grand old time, because it's the last stop on the tour, I challenge you, Washington, D.C. area junkies. Let's see if we can get 100 junkies out to that event. And let's see if you can top Houston from last year, who represented with over 80. And that means you, Houston, January 15th at Murder by the Book at 6:30 p.m. I'm waiting to see how well you guys represent this year. Granted, a lot of your peeps are going to be going to the Dallas book reading event on January 16th, 7 o'clock at the Borders Books and Music, but it doesn't let you off the hook, Houston. I'm expecting Texas to represent hardcore. So now it's time for my video game review. Now that Contagious is done and going to stores and Nocturnal is almost finished, yes, I actually have time to play a video game or two. The video game review is sponsored by Gamefly. So my game of the week, or a couple weeks because it takes me a while to get through these because I suck, is called Dead Space. Dead Space is a first-person shooter. So you play the role of Isaac, who is a tech on a ship that is sent out into the middle of space to repair a giant ship known as a planet cracker. And well, you wouldn't be playing the game if everything went okay, now would you? No, of course, things go horribly wrong. And when they cracked open the planet, something came out of the planet, crawled into the planet cracker ship, and started fucking up everyone's day. This game is hardcore sci-fi. It is bloody. It is nasty. And I'm not going to lie to you. It is scary. I don't think this is the game that you're going to want to be playing at 1 o'clock in the morning with all the lights off in the house. And when I say that my podcasts have lots and lots of violence, listen, Cupcake, it ain't nothing compared to Dead Space. Eviscerations, decapitations, dismemberment, blood flying everywhere, and the sound on this game is absolutely amazing. Even before you get to the monsters, they start jacking up the sound on this bad boy, and you can literally feel your tension increase, your pulse rate increases. And I'm having a great time playing this game. It's really well done. It's made by EA, so you can find out more about it at EA.com, or you can just Google for Dead Space. And it's a first-person shooter, so there's not a great deal of thinking involved. You go through, you get new weapons, you get power-ups. The monsters are great. You blow them up, and eventually you get through the game and hopefully save the day and find out what happened. The cool thing is you can dismember monsters, and then you can use this telekinesis power to pick up the body parts and throw them all over the place. It's great. It's like a food fight for a cannibal. So if you want to check that out, my advice, scottsigler.com/sponsors, click on the Gamefly logo, and then when you're in the site, go ahead and search for Dead Space and see what you think. Now, I promised you some calls. I cannot get to all the calls that came in this week, so we're just going to do a few of them. And remember, if you want to leave a message for the future dark overlord of the entire realm of existence, that number is, because you know, future dark overlords that are going to rule all existence, oh, they have voicemail. Yes, they do. It's a little known fact, but it's true. And this FDO's voicemail is 206-666-4673. That's 206-666-GORE. Feel free to call that number, leave a message, and maybe I might have something to say back to you.
Scott, Bill from Chicago. Just had to say happy Thanksgiving and
happy Thanksgiving to you.
Well, I watched the football game this afternoon.
Uh-oh.
And you know I had to call and just let you know how absolutely terrible the Lions are. But don't worry, when you're in Chicago on the 19th of January for the book tour,
you're terrible.
Like I said, I've got first ring for you.
You're terrible.
You can cry in your beer that the Lions suck and have not won a single game all season. Oh well, see ya.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you something. How about this? No one's ever liked you. Ever. No one has ever liked you. And everyone hates the fact that you lord your football knowledge all over everybody. Listen, pal, don't bag on my Lions. They suck enough as it is without any help from you.
Hey, Scott. Wanted to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you and more of it.
I also wanted to say I'm really looking forward to the Addictive Comics thing. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
I love The Rookie. I can't wait to see it. But in your little ad about The Rookie, you forgot to mention one character.
Uh-oh.
You really should have mentioned Mitchell Fayette.
Oh.
Mitchell fucking Fayette, man.
Oh.
You missed him. Oh, well. He's going to be in the comic, or at least he better be. Take care, man. I love your work. Look forward to seeing you on your tour. Bye, man.
Yes, more people coming out to meet the FDO, to meet Pope Siglaricus the 30th and receive his moist blessings in person. I don't know which tour stop you're coming to, but I look forward to meeting you there. And of course, he's referring to addictivecomics.com. That is the new webcomics company I am launching with Mark Hester and Paul Rogolinski. And our first release on there is going to be a graphic novel of The Rookie. You can check that out at addictivecomics.com.
Hey, this is me again, Daniel.
Daniel.
Calling to tell you that, I do think that you could write Rookie again with less of the language, you know? Because I would like my brother and sister to be able to read your books because they're in like the 5 to 8 thing, you know, where they won't really understand the language and stuff. And, man, I can't believe I can call you but not a girl. Well, okay, that's all. Yeah. Bye.
Don't worry about it, Daniel. Soon you will be calling those chicks because Pope Siglaricus is sending you energy right now. Pope Siglaricus the 30th. Pick up the phone and call some chippies. Just call them. And of course, Daniel is referring to my question from a previous episode. Should we take The Rookie and make a cleaner teen version of it? And so far, the response that I've been getting in emails, in forum posts over at scottsigler.com, and in comments on my blog entry has been pretty overwhelmingly, yes, make a second version of the book. Keep the adult version, keep the original for all of us, but make a more accessible version for the teen market. So I will be doing that, and I will let you guys know when that is going to be available. No timeline set yet.
Hey, King Sigler, what's up? This is Daniel from Montgomery, Texas. I'm right now in high school. Started listening to your podcast in junior high.
Okay.
Got some friends who listen to it. Been trying to spread the word in high school, you know. Get people to listen and buy your book.
Yes.
Hoping you make it to Houston so that I can get to meet you probably. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know. Bye.
Clearly, I got my calls out of order. That's Daniel's first call, and the other call was Daniel's second call. Daniel, all you got to do is go to scottsigler.com/tour, and you will see that indeed I am coming to Houston in January. So get your friends together and come on out and see me.
Hey, Scott, it's Mithya again. I just got done listening to 36, and I got to tell you, man, I'm amped for this new comic coming out.
Yes.
I went over to addictivecomics.com, and the artwork there is phenomenal.
Sweet. Glad to hear it, bro.
It's truly off the hook. You got some talented hookups, man.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the next episode or episodes of Nocturnal, man.
Plural.
And I wanted to let you know that I quit smoking weed because it was interfering with my stories.
Yeah!
I can't handle those two combined.
Dude, I'm the only drug you need, brah.
Good. Makes me sick, you know?
Hey, you know it.
It also was interfering with my writing. I'm working on a fanfic of yours.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll get that up in a little bit.
Yes. Lay off the weed, mainline Sigler.
I'm bummed I'm not going to see you on the Stank Tour, man.
What?
If I was old enough, I would have bought you a beer.
Good God, man.
So, good luck on that. I wish you the best. And may the plaid tanks roll on some other continent.
Yes.
Peace out, man.
Peace out. Peace out. Look at that. You see that, you guys? I am the cure to the world's drug problem. Just like that, I am single-handedly eliminating the demand for drugs on a global scale. Because everybody's hooked on a far better drug, the love that is Siglerism.
Hey, Scott, this is Mike from Southern California.
What up,
Just
Mike?
Thought maybe you might like to know that sounds like NPR is getting on board the Future Dark Overlord bandwagon.
And, wait, that's the whole call? Dude, you can't do that to me. What are you, NPR? Getting on my bandwagon? What you talking about, Willis? Whoever, listen, bro, call back. Leave me more about that message. Call back.
Well, hello, my FDO. This is your limo driver, Randy, and I don't have the shotgun wired pig with me at the moment. But
all right.
Anyway, I'm calling in concern or about the rookie and having a more toned down version for the younger crowd. Absolutely. Either one version or two versions, I don't think it's going to make much difference. You want them to be introduced to your content and to be a Sigler lover at a young age. I mean,
yes.
Won't that be great? 10, 15 years from now, you hear somebody saying, hey, I remember reading The Rookie when I was in high school, and that's what got me interested in reading was Scott Sigler. He is the FDO.
He is.
Absolute.
Inequivocal. It's many words. Many words to describe the glory that is General Siglerissimo.
Sigler, you still got to update your answer message. You got to include the crypt.
Oh, yeah.
How do you reopen the gore line and not include the crypt?
Don't know.
It's your next novel, and you've already released, prelude stories to it that are just fucking insane. Also, I want to say thank you again for coming to New York. I'm so looking forward to seeing you wreck the borders at Columbus Circle again with your awesomeness.
Yes.
See you in January.
See you there, bro.
Sigler, Scott in Orangevale, California.
Scott!
Just listening to your Thanksgiving blood or whatever it is, the gore line episode thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Just
That's
don't
okay.
kill me yet.
Well, not yet.
Love the idea of marketing it to teenagers. I know a couple of kids who work for some of my coworkers who would eat this book up. Like you said, they're challenge readers, and it would be great for them, man. I don't know. I'd say that whether or not you want to do two versions of the book or one would be your call, but
it's a tough call.
Honestly, man, from a market standpoint, the more hands you can get that book into, the better off you are. The more people you get tapping that vein, the more money you can potentially make on your next book. And I want to see the future Dark Overlord make as much money as he possibly can.
Yes.
Peace, Sigler. God love you.
Hey, Shipperbrain. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. It's Oz calling.
Oz!
Hey, just starting to listen to 37, and I'm wondering when you're going to...
I wonder, too, because it looks like Oz's call got cut off, but I love the Oz, so even though it was a short call, I just wanted to play it anyways. Oz, call back. Leave that message.
Hey, Scott, this is Stevie Lee.
Stevie Lee!
City, Texas.
What up?
Heard myself on your podcast there. Very cool. You asked a question about the rookie, whether you should turn it into a teen-friendly, kid-friendly story. Of all the stories you've got, the rookie would be the only one I think you could actually do that with.
Probably
and
true.
I think it's a good idea to open up a whole new market for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's a good story. No matter what the age on that, I think they could work with that very well. I would not. I would make it, I guess, two different versions. I guess the R version and the PG version, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Kid version versus adult version. I would not change the original back down to a kid version. So I think you just have two of them out there for now. And it could open up some ideas for you for other stories down the road that are...
That's true.
That you get, to market to younger crowd. Because I tell you what, you get a good market there, you get a good following there, you got a lot of people. Anyway, good stuff. Keep it up. That's it. Later.
All right, Stevie, I better see you at one of them book tours, either at Houston or at Dallas.
Hi, yes, good morning. I'd like to speak to Pope Siglaricus the 30th.
Yes.
Oh, he's not available. What about General Siglarissimo?
Yes.
Neither him either. Is just Scott Sigler there?
Yes.
No. Well, where are they? They're at lunch with Larry King?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, the whole... yes, I'll hold. Hold on. Well, okay, yeah, hi. Yes, I'd really like to speak to the voice. No, I don't need voice. Oh, damn it. Beep. Okay, yeah, hi. This is Jesse from Colorado, just trying to get a hold of Pope Siglaricus.
Got a whole skit going on here.
Really important I need to talk to you about, but apparently you don't have time for your junkies. What I'm worried about here is I do a lot of customer service, and I have these people that get very angry at me, and they cuss me out. They threaten to kill my family.
Mm-hmm.
They threaten to kill my children.
Sure.
And then they tell me to have a blessed day.
Of course.
And apparently that absolves them of all the sins they just committed.
Duh.
Telling me they want to murder my entire family.
Who doesn't, Jesse?
And I was thinking it would be fantastic to have a saying like that for Siglerism. That if I say, hey, I'm going to come over to your house and burn your house down, I could say something, and then it would just all be fun and games, and nobody would worry about it.
It's not fun and games.
I think that would be great. We need to come up with a saying,
but I'm serious.
And may the FDO spare you, or something like that, so that we can absolve ourselves of anything wrong we've said.
But I'm serious.
I think that would be a great idea. And on another note, I just wanted to let Sigler know that...
But I want to kill you.
I think writing the rookie in a teen form would be fantastic, but I think we need to have the rookie written, as it was originally intended. I think that's probably the best way to do both if it's possible.
But I want to kill you.
But I don't think you should totally let go of the idea not to do it in a teen form. So...
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Hey, brother. It's Walt Snyder down in Fort Lauderdale.
Walt.
I've written a few times, another podcaster, yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada.
Couple notes. You asked for feedback, preferably email, but I'm in the car, so if you don't like it, fuck it.
That's my kind of people right there.
The quality that you had with your mobile rig that you recorded, Yolanda Smith, the recruit for the Crypt, I found no problem with it, and I produce 7 podcasts.
Good.
Per month, and I'm taking on another 3 next year.
Jesus.
So I have an ear, I would like to think I have an ear for quality. I can't exactly explain my first wife, but that's another discussion. Anyway, feedback for that episode, brother?
Yeah.
Not bad at fucking all. I enjoyed it. I was completely immersed, and I could actually hear the buzz clippers chop her hair off. So I think if that would make it easier for you when you're out, brother, do it. Also the quality where you interviewed the guy that's doing the screenwriter, Eric Hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm getting the guy's name right. Cool guy, pretty personable.
Eric Burnt.
I really didn't mind the noise in the background. It was, here and there it was slightly interfering with the foreground audio, but it was completely understandable the entire time, and that also was good enough quality to satisfy me. So both ways, man. Both ways are great, and keep it up. If you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, just Walt Snyder, SNIDER.com. I doubt you will, because you're too busy becoming a Dark Overlord and taking over the planet and all that bullshit. So good luck, brother. I'll talk to you when I talk to you.
Thanks, Walt. I'm leaving your email up in the call in case anybody wants to email Walt and say, hey, Walt, what are those 7 to 10 podcasts that you produce? Because, gosh, I'd like to give them a listen. But thanks for the feedback, Walt. Appreciate that very much. It's good to know that the portable rig works, because I'm going to attempt to continue podcasting while I am on the Contagious Book Tour. That's probably one of the more retarded things I've ever said in my life, but I'm going to give it a shot anyways, just to see if we can keep the content rolling. And that requires the portable rig. I've got a few more calls in the queue. I will get to those at my next opportunity. But that's all I've got time for right now. Again, if you want to leave me a message, that is 206-666-4673, 206-666-GORE. And you know what? I know the fucking Lions suck. I don't need that call, smart guys. I will talk to you later for Nocturnal number 39, the big finale. And I hope you're enjoying Contagious as well. And I'll see you on tour. You have been listening to Nocturnal, written and performed by Scott Sigler. For more information, go to scottsigler.com. All music in this podcast provided by Uncrowned off their album Devils and Angels, available now at the iTunes Music Store.